Now, Bangladesh has sent troops to help millions of people trapped by floodwaters in the northeast. It's the worst flooding in the region in more than a century. And as Tanveer Chowdhury reports from Sylhet, the government is struggling to get drinking water and food to those in need.
Shukr Ali is a livestock farmer who lost his home in the floods. He and his family have been living on the side of this road for almost a week now, without any kind of help.
Go and see the condition of our home. What is the point of talking about it? It is only Allah who can provide. He is the one who gives and who takes away.
Sweetie Begum is waiting for government assistance on the outskirts of the city of Sylhet. After queuing for hours, she is beginning to lose hope.
There is water all around my home, chest deep. We've been sitting here waiting for relief for hours, and so far we've received nothing.
Armed forces have rescued or evacuated more than 100,000 people from two of the worst-hit districts in the northeast. Many others are still stranded in remote rural areas. This is one of the many schools in Sunamganj and Sylhet region that has been used as makeshift shelter for those villagers who were affected by the flood. Most of the people took shelter on their own. Now they're in desperate need for food and fresh water. Even residents in urban areas with better drainage systems are affected.
We've never seen floods like this in our lifetime. Our home has water up to the hip. We've no running water and electricity. We're now using rainwater.
During her visit to the area, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina said future building developments should take into account the number of natural disasters that Bangladesh experiences. Many of these people are still recovering from the last month's pre-monsoon flash floods.
We left our home to take shelter here. There's no food or fresh water. It would help if we got some relief from the government so we can get by.
For the poor rural farmers who have lost everything, it'll take months, if not years, to rebuild their homes. They need all the assistance they can get, but help is yet to come.
Now, in neighbouring India, dozens of people have died in flooding and landslides in Assam state. Soldiers have been deployed to get supplies to areas that are cut off. Tens of thousands of people have already been moved to safety, but many are still stranded. Pavni Mittal is in Sipachar in the badly hit Darang district and joins us live from there. So is help now reaching some of those stranded people?
Well, the situation is quite dire. There's incessant rainfall on the hilly side of Assam, and that's causing rivers downstream to swell and cause new rounds of flooding, and that is complicating relief and rescue efforts. So a lot of people have had to look out for themselves. I mean, we're coming to you from an embankment, and as you can see on my right, that is a makeshift camp, and people are living here, and that is a scene we've seen across the state. People here are villagers. They've come from a nearby place that is now almost completely underwater, and as you can see, that is actually a field that is covered with water, and those are the makeshift rafts that people here are using to go back and forth to get supplies and food. They say they haven't really received much food and relief and are looking out for themselves. We've seen them chopping wood, they're making fires so they can cook. And there's a lot of concern about potential diseases that these floods could bring. So people here say they sent their children away to relatives' homes that have not been impacted by the flood. But what we've really picked up during the course of our reporting is a lot of anxiety amongst people. You know, these people are farmers like most people in the state, and they say that these floods have coincided with sowing season, and whatever little crop they have is now, as you just saw, completely underwater. So they don't know when they'll be able to make a living next. Now, to be clear, floods are an annual affair in Assam, and the ecology and economy of the state needs some level of flooding. But residents say they haven't seen this kind of flooding in many years. This is the second major round of flooding they've seen this year. The first was back in May, that was caused by heavier and earlier than usual pre-monsoon showers. Officials we spoke to at the time also said they were gearing up and stocking up for another round that we are in the middle of right now. But there are many challenges. The military has been called in. We've been on rescue boats and seen how they're saving people. But a lot of people are not really willing to leave their homes. They don't want to leave their fields. They don't know when they're going to be back and when they'll start rebuilding their lives. Across the state, the number of people affected by these floods is rising. It's now crossed 5.5 million people. And over the last 24 hours, 7 more people have died.
So they got a lot more flooding than usual. What is going to happen to people who are going to be displaced for longer than usual?
Well, that is the big question, and that is what they're anxious about. There are relief camps. More than 1,600 camps have been set up across the state, and they're housing more than 250,000 people. But most people have basically been left to do what you can see here. And because the situation is really changing, authorities and people are really struggling. I mean, just a few kilometers down, this embankment was actually breached yesterday, and a relief camp was swept away. So people have had to move and set up a home or set up camps on a national highway that is also now submerged in water.
All right, we'll leave it there. Thanks so much, Padma Mittal.